I've just had a wonderful evening with my boyfriend. Downtown for dinner, a stroll through the campus, a serious talk. He's really a wonderful guy. In fact, he reminds me a lot of you. And seeing your letter on my desk when I got back reminded me of my promise to fill you in on all the changes at your old alma mater. Everywhere you turn, there are reminders that this is Cougar country. Even the team mascot, Butch, is a symbol of the strong Cougar spirit here on the WSU campus. As you know, Washington State was established as a land-grant College of Agriculture and School of Science back in 1890. There was just one building when it opened its doors 2 years later. Campus has grown to cover over 2,000 acres in full blown, and there are about 4,700 acres of research facilities in other parts of the state. Out of more than 14,000 students, over one-half come from west of the Cascades. Many of the buildings that were here when you went to school are still in use. Remember Ferry Hall and the old clock tower on Bryan Hall? Most of them serve a different function now. New buildings are going up all the time. One of the new ones, the French Administration Building, has been dubbed Fort French by some of the kids. That classic red brick provides a kind of architectural theme. But concrete and glass are also used in some unusual structures such as the Fine Arts Center. Most of the students live on campus, and the 25 residence halls have space for just over 6,000 of them. Besides residence halls, the university operates a trailer court, apartment units for single students, and housing for about 700 families. Some students prefer the more personalized form of group living offered by the 24 national fraternities and 15 sororities on campus. Even though we live and study in such beautiful buildings, the spring sunshine draws us out to meet on the lawn for many of our classes. While we're enjoying the beautiful sunshine, other students are making history in 4 hospitals in Spokane, Washington. They are fifth-year students in the College of Pharmacy. They spend their clerkship of 7 weeks becoming familiar with the delivery of health care, making rounds with the physicians, reviewing patients' drug therapy, and in general becoming more disease and patient-oriented. The WSU pharmacy students are becoming part of a medical team, adding another dimension to patient care. The Spokane hospitals also serve as a training ground for student nurses. They receive clinical experience in the hospitals and health agencies during their junior and senior years. And grandfather, since you have been a rancher all your life, you will appreciate this. At the College of Agriculture, there's a lot more going on than just teaching kids in a classroom or a place like the meats lab. What really surprised me was that the College of Agriculture considers the whole state as its classroom. The WSU Cooperative Extension Service has county or area agents in every county of the state, and they are always having field days, workshops, seminars, and classes. They are still helping the farmer grow more and better crops and the farm families to live better. But they are also working with minority and disadvantaged groups too. It made me feel good to learn that Washington State University has a real strong program in helping the mothers of low-income families know about nutrition and how to feed their families better with the money they have. And the Extension Service 4-H program has really changed too. The 4-Hers still have their traditional projects, but today you can find 4-H just as much in the cities as on the farm. And the 4-Her is more concerned about the environment and is working to clean it up and to develop community pride. Research, as well as extension, is concerned about the environment. I was surprised to learn how much agricultural research is going on that deals with the environment in one way or another, such as using a destructive insect's own enemies to control it, which cuts down on the amount of chemicals needed. And the ag researchers are working to help the consumer too, such as looking at ways to store potatoes better so that French fries always have an attractive color and flavor. Did you know, grandfather, that 1.5 billion pounds of Washington-grown potatoes end up as French fries every year? That's 1/2 of our total potato production, and a lot of French fries. Of course, you know better than I do what agricultural research has done over the years, Grandfather. In fact, as I remember, you have mentioned more than once that you saved money by adopting some new practice or using some new variety developed through research. What you may not know, and what really amazed me, is the scope of agricultural research program. In fact, the Agricultural Research Center has over 350 projects going on all the time, and on about everything you can imagine. The important agricultural products, such as wheat, potatoes, beef, and fruit, are the most popular, but the agricultural scientists also work on such things as mint, hops, cranberries, and dry peas. And they do their research all over the state. Besides the campus, there are 7 other locations in the state where researchers are stationed. Now, I don't want you to get the idea that we don't have any classes on the campus. We do, and some of them are really huge. But we also have some very small classes where we can really get into a dialogue with the professor. Some of my profs are so great. One of them, John Erstein, teaches advanced literature.
Marvelous choice of words here. These 2 stanzas are very nearly sickening, but on purpose, right? Consider that, really stomach-turning metaphor in stanza 8 of the slough who eats so much that he bursts. How's that for a description of face? But it's deliberately so, I think, wrought in that way.
WSU is one of the very few campuses in the U.S. that has a police science department. The students are taught the very latest in investigative methods, crime prevention, and control. What appears on campus to be a huge modern art sculpture is really a very functional home and showcase for the art department. I'm sure in your time, Grandfather, art was something that a few eccentrics did in their attics. Well, that's all changed now. Art is accepted as an integral part of the university community. The new home for the art department houses just about everything the creative mind would need to fulfill its desires. I'm really getting interested in the communications department since I joined the announcing staff of KWSU Radio. It's one of the oldest and best-known educational stations in the country. WSU pioneered the nation's first broadcasting class here in 1929. The late Edward R. Murrow was one of our most famous graduates. The new $2.5 million Edward R. Murrow Communications Center houses the studios of KWSU TV. Students get experience in every phase of TV broadcasting, from performing to directing. WSU's radio television services operate a tape network which sends locally produced programs to other radio and TV stations all over the country. One of the favorite topics of the TV and radio shows is WSU's archaeological discoveries. About the time that Columbus first came to this continent, a massive mudslide buried an Indian village on the northwest coast of Washington. The gooey mud sealed off the oxygen and preserved the houses and their contents almost perfectly. In fact, it has been called the Western Pompeii. 5 centuries of rain eventually washed away enough mud to alert scientists that there was something in that hillside. Dr. Richard Doherty of the Anthropology Department here at WSU was called in to direct the archaeological dig. A lot of dedicated WSU students are helping to uncover and catalog the artifacts. Another world-shaking discovery was made by a WSU archaeology professor, Dr. Roald Fryxell. In the Snake River Canyon, he found the skeleton of what has been called the Marmis Man, the oldest human remains ever found in the Western Hemisphere. 2 other skeletons and a lot of artifacts were found at the site. Flooding of the archaeological site forced a stop to the dig, but Dr. Fryxell was not idled. NASA called upon his geological expertise to develop means of preserving and dissecting the core samples taken from the moon by the Apollo astronauts. Now, Dr. Fixell flies to the Houston Manned Spacecraft Center after every moon trip to work with the core samples. He talked to us the other day about the relationship that the moon explorations have with history.
From Artemis Man and from other archaeological projects in the New World and in the Old World, we know that ever since man first appeared more than 1 million years ago, he always has been dependent on the environment for his existence. And now, for the first time, we have two balancing points of view to look at this environmental problem. The second one is provided by the perspective from outer space, from the Apollo program, where suddenly we realize that the Earth is a very small, finite island on which we live, and it has a very thin, fragile skin of water and atmosphere, which made life possible in the first place, and on which we're dependent for our continued existence, and therefore of which we must be very, very careful.
Although the speech department has a fine new theater building, they sometimes do shows in the open air.
Come, Kate, you are welcome, wash and welcome heartily. Wilt thou let it fall?
Some call it appreciation of fine art. Others call it a study in structural design. But whatever the excuse, it seems that whenever we try to get a tan, boys never seem to be too far away. Speaking of structural design, they're doing some big things at the College of Engineering. Because the engineering field is so vast and complex, they tailor-make courses of instruction to fit almost any requirement. And it means a lot to be able to adapt to the needs of business and industry of our state. Research being done in the huge hydraulic lab is going to affect all of us. Studying their floodplain models, researchers gather enough data to show if there is a need to change ideas of land use and even zoning laws. Remember a couple of years ago when I stayed at your farm and you finished my bedroom with particle board? Did you know that the real development of it was done here at WSU? They didn't actually invent it, but they did work out the best ways to use it. Research at WSU's College of Engineering is developing a way to accurately test a piece of lumber electronically. It is no guesswork. The machine will be able to determine the strength of each piece as it comes out of the mill. They call the process non-destructive testing. It was engineered by one of our professors, Roy Pellerin. This kind of testing will surely help the building industry. One of the strangest looking devices here on the campus is what they call the Pavement test track. You'll probably see it as you drive up to visit me. There's really nothing like it in the world. You know the controversy going on about studded tires. Well, at this track, they don't argue whether they should be allowed or not. They just test what studded tires do to different kinds of pavement. And they try to determine what changes need to be made to both the tires and the pavement to reduce wear and to improve highway safety. The head of our highway research section, John Cook, is called all over the world to tell about his findings on that little track. My roommate and I tried to conduct our own engineering test on the way to a raft race, but we weren't quite as successful. When the race finally got started, we forgot about winning and about staying dry and concentrated instead on staying out of the river. The WSU Outing Club provided the rafts, and we fearlessly shot the rapids of Clearwater River. What great fun. As you promised, Granddad, when you persuaded me to attend WSU, it's not all study. There are some great fun times. I've been invited to several fraternity parties. What a time to relax and meet a lot of groovy people. But there are other groups on campus who have fun in a different kind of way. In the Campus Crusade meeting, kids gather to sing and tell what God has done for them.
I discovered a personal relationship with Jesus Christ by simply asking him into my life and believing by faith that he died on the cross for my sins. At this point, I didn't feel any great change in my life, but I knew that Christ was there just because I was able to experience the completeness and the fullness that he has promised for each one of us.
No one questions that this is truly Cougar country when one of our intercollegiate teams is playing. We compete in the very tough Pacific 8 Conference, and our baseball team is always one of the very best. Another WSU team that is consistently at the very top of the pack is our track team. Athletes come from all over the world to attend WSU so they can take advantage of our great coaches. Our basketball coach loves to show pictures of our new Coliseum to prospective players. But of course, the $8 million multi-purpose Coliseum is used for all kinds of cultural events. But of course, football is the favorite that draws out the biggest crowds and brings out the Cougar spirit in every one of us. There is always an intramural sports program in progress. Everyone on campus who so desires can join in some type of sports activity. After a hard workout of study or sports, everyone's ready for an evening of entertainment. The associated students bring in top name performers as well as local groups for concerts and dances. In the winter, we pack the gyms for these events, but in the spring, we just let loose on the lawns. I hope, Granddad, that you aren't still worried about me being lonely for the first time I've lived away from home. The residence halls really have the atmosphere of a big, happy family, and there's always something going on. We get together with other dorms for fireside sing-alongs and cultural dinners. There are lots of current movies and interesting speakers who talk about anything from Sasquatch hunting to student rights. And our bread baking classes at night are fun, even if they sometimes are fiascos. Then, too, the Residence Hall Association helps us all get along better with each other. The association holds meetings to plan dorm regulations and activities. Self-government helps us feel more like a community. Pullman is still a small city, Granddad, and it provides a comfortable setting for the campus. The shops are close enough to satisfy the needs of the campus community whenever we have fun money to spend. This letter is sure getting long, but there are so many new and exciting things going on that I want to tell you about. But one thing hasn't changed. We still have to take tests. Kids still try to outsmart the teacher by guessing the questions he'll ask, but in my business class, we have to outsmart a computer. My professor, Dr. Mark Hammer, was one of the first in the country to develop this method of computer testing. The students really prefer it to the old methods because we can take the test up to 3 times without penalty. Of course, the computer gives us a different test every time, but it is on the same area of study. The computer printout gives us the answers and page references right away, so the test itself is a learning experience. With this kind of testing, we no longer have excuses for bad grades. For if we don't get it the first time, only our own laziness keeps us from studying more and going back to take it again. Also, there is no cheating. Everyone's test is different. The mammoth computer at WSU is worked around the clock by both teachers and students. Changes have not only occurred in the curriculum, Grandfather, but also in the student participation in the actual operations of the university. Through the Student Faculty Senate, both students and faculty make their desires and recommendations known to the administration. Because of those wonderful summers I spent on your farm, Grandpa, I was really interested in the vet school. It's still as famous as it ever was, even from the first class of 1902. Only about 1 out of 8 who apply are accepted into the school. The school could double in size and still not meet the requests for veterinarians. For every graduate, several jobs are available. Even though now more than half of the graduates go into small animal practice, they still have an active farm practice where an instructor and a couple of students go out to the farms to treat the animals. You should see the wild trucks. They are actually miniature hospitals on wheels. They even have a refrigerator. They carry most of the medicine and supplies needed to treat the animals right out to the field. The hot, searing branding iron will soon be a thing of the past, thanks to freeze branding developed by Dr. Keith Farrell. In this new method of branding, the iron is supercooled in dry ice. Because of the thickness of the animal's skin, there is only a slight cool tingling during the branding. It is really quite painless. Was I ever pleasantly surprised to find out about the animals used in research? Two of our researchers, Dr. George Paget and Dr. Jerry Hegerberg, look all over the world for animals that already have diseases like those found in man. They don't give the animals a disease. The animals already have the disease. They just try to find a way to cure it. By finding a cure for the animals, they thereby hope to find clues for the cure of similar human disease. The animals are really well taken care of. In fact, if it weren't for the loving care given them, most of the animals would have died long ago. Operating on animals is a very serious business, and the veterinary students and doctors prepare for it as they would for an operation on a human. I saw two seniors, a gal and a guy, perform a routine operation on a German Shepherd. A professor monitored the anesthesia and was able to step in if needed or to give timely advice. Working with the large field animals is not quite as easy, but equipment has been developed that will handle the animals safely and cause as little discomfort to the animals as possible. It was very gratifying to me to see the genuine concern the students had for the animals. It showed in their faces and in the way they handled the animals. It's inevitable. If you gather a group of men together who have been raised around horses, you're going to have a rodeo like the intercollegiate meet which is held every year at WSU's Hilltop Stables. You know how I love rodeos, Granddad. I never miss a one. A visit to the campus is never complete without a stop at Ferdinand's, our campus creamery. It was there that I finally saw how cheese is made. The Cougar Gold and Cougar Cheddar is made according to a WSU-developed formula, then sealed in a can and aged for at least a year.
Now that you've had a wonderful spring break and are really ready to get back in the grind of French, I thought we'd do something a little different today and play a game. So, you see by the board that I have that this will remind you very much of a game that you are real familiar with. You might call it bingo in English. But to us today, it's going to be voila.
The College of Education demands that the teacher trainees develop and demonstrate competence in teaching ability and classroom technique before they are allowed to graduate. It is no longer enough to pass all the college classes. You must be able to teach effectively. One of the ways they develop good teachers is through the use of micro-teaching. By videotape, the beginning teacher is able to see herself as her students would see her. I hear it used to be a joke on campus that if you wanted a good wife, get one from the College of Home Economics, because at least she'd know how to cook. Well, that might not be true today. The cooking part, that is. Because they are no longer turning out just good homemakers, but rather are concentrating on producing women, and men too, who are professionals in their field. Students are coming from all over the world to study nutrition at WSU. One of their projects is the determination of protein deficiency by analyzing human hair. Other graduate students go into the surrounding communities to study what effect the school lunch program has on the nutritional diet balance of school children. By studying what is offered in the school's lunchroom and what the students actually eat, both at school and at home, recommendations will be made to improve school lunches. The College of Home Economics operates 3 nursery schools, but they're not for the convenience of the professors or students with children. Each nursery school is a laboratory where child behavior can be observed, where home ec and education students can get practice teaching, and where professionals in child development are trained. My college experience has really opened my eyes to the many problems that other people have to overcome. There is never a lack of student volunteers to do community work with the handicapped. Some of the kids I know spend part of their free time with retarded children, just being a friend. I am planning next year to take a course in Black Studies. A course that I heard was quite good is a study of the history of the civil rights movement in America.
Everybody said that somehow or another, once we get civil rights, once somehow or another our civil rights are protected, we won't have to worry about poverty. What happens in terms of black people in the North? Millions of black people were in the North and had nominal civil rights. As John Lewis said, you know, like they had the right to vote, but there was nobody to vote for. They had nominal civil rights, but nevertheless, they were still economically deprived. They were still starving to death. And nobody was really talking about that at all in terms of the 1963 Civil Rights Bill.
Exchange students from around the world give a cosmopolitan air to the campus. They get together for songfests and tours of the state through the international program and host many events throughout the year.
All kinds of everything remind me of you.
My boyfriend is learning to fly in the Air Force ROTC. Both Army and Air Force ROTC help develop leadership qualities and build a citizen army for national defense. If you come to visit Granddad, you won't believe all the different ways people can do their own things. Everyone dresses primarily for comfort. And if there was a school uniform, it would be t-shirts and jeans. It's almost a joy to dress up once in a while for a day. I've heard you talk about the good old days when sorority and dorm girls all wore dresses to class. Well, now almost anything goes. College is a good time to really express our personalities through weird clothes and bright colors. At one time, the coveralls and blue denim work shirts symbolized some kind of student unity with the laborers. But now the Army and Navy surplus stuff is popular because it's cheap, washable, and so comfortable. Right now, kids can go to any length with hair and beards. But by graduation time, most of the seniors start shedding their bushy sideburns and mustaches to look for jobs in the big outside world. There's still so much to say about all the activities and the 8 colleges at Washington State University. But it's getting very late, and it looks like I'm just going to have to write you another letter. Love, your Cougar granddaughter.
Washington.